about the well finale, so to speak.
Which makes sense because I just thought about it. I had my procedure on like the 17th, and that Unity
Mm-hmm.
update happened the 22nd. There was no way I was doing the show. That
Mm-hmm.
was not that was not going to happen
Yeah.
no matter how yeah, show's too close to ending. I'm not going to include it. It's fine. I can
Yeah.
if I want to have
And
that
it's
as
not
a
that much in there anyway.
yeah, there's not enough in there for me to be like, "Oh, this is going to be worth covering anyways." I'm fine with it. It annoys me that Unity did what they did, but you know
Yeah.
what? Evil companies will sometimes be evil. That's just how you be sometimes. I suppose
Mm-hmm.
if I can lean into being the villain, so can they. But you know what I will do, CD?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take our show back a couple of years, back to the earlier years of this show, back to an old topic we talked quite a bit about on this show. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
forgot Telltale.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know I'd be coming
Mm-hmm.
back to these motherfuckers again. Oh, didn't know I'd be revisiting these motherfuckers again in the year of our Lord 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Telltale has under this article came from PlayStation Lifestyle. Apparently, Telltale is going through some pretty difficult times. For those of you who've been with the show way too fucking long, way too fucking long. Back in 2018, the studio imploded and basically destroyed itself due to poor
Yeah.
business decisions, licensing
Mm-hmm.
licensing costs for all these different games, and the fact that like of all the things that they had put out, the only game that had actually made them any actual money was Walking Dead, basically. There's the sum of it. The only game
Mm-hmm.
they actually made a profit on with the way that they did things was The Walking Dead. That was it. Um,
No wonder they
so
went back to that all the time.
the studio was resurrected in 2019 under a different company. They announced, I want to say a couple of years ago, that The Wolf
Mm-hmm.
Among Us 2 was going to be a thing. It was a teaser trailer. It was supposed to be a thing, but uh,
The first thing I think they announced was the Expanse game.
yeah.
I think, and that was
So
I think in 2019 at the Game Awards or something like that.
cinematic artist Jonah Huang claims that most of the developers were laid off in September, adding that those who were made redundant had to sign an NDA as part of their severance package that prevents them
Oh,
from saying
2021.
anything that harms Telltale or its reputation. He added that he's unable to provide an update on the status of Wolf Among Us 2. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Mhm.
NDAs, they always like sometimes an NDA makes sense, but in situations like this, it always feels just a little. I get why.
Yeah.
I get why from a business perspective you might do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't make me feel great about it though. But I do understand the business of an NDA if you don't want like
Mm-hmm.
details of like corporate
Yep.
shit being talked about publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on October 5th, Telltale put out a statement. Due to current market conditions, we regrettably had to let some of our Telltale team go. We did not take this action lightly, and our commitment to storytelling and finding new ways to do so remains the same. Blah, blah, blah. Typical corporate speak for we had to lay off
Mm-hmm.
a fuck ton of people. And I say
Yeah.
we had to lay off a fuck ton of people because it looks like, from what I've seen, like I'm gonna take the guy who's actually worked there when he says that they had to lay off a substantial amount of people. I'm inclined to take him at his word.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. And a substantial amount, given that apparently they were around 40 people. Hmm, that can triple the
ooh,
company.
yeah. If you only, they only had 40. Ooh,
Yeah, at least that's what the Wikipedia tells me currently around 40 people, which, let's see here. Uh-huh. That's referencing an article from August where they acquired Flavorworks. Apparently there the statement was around 40 people. Yeah.
So yeah, I think we all need to
Yeah, I
just
mean, when you
think.
want to return to an episodic format for games that already has shown that it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't. And it's not that these games weren't good. It's that when
Mm-hmm.
you put out like part episode 1, even if you make it free, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
like 90 days before the next episode comes out,
Mm-hmm.
most people are just not gonna buy it. They're not gonna play it.
Yeah.
Like
And
the drop off
and
rate for
even
those were pretty significant.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and even with how they did the Expanse game, it makes the episodic format even more absurd. The first episode was released in July 27. The last one, the fifth one, in September 21st.
Oh,
So you had not just about 2 months for 5 episodes. So why the smack do you even release it in an episodic format?
yeah. If you're gonna
It almost takes more effort to split up the releases than to just put it out in one.
Yeah, if you're gonna release if you're gonna release each of the episodes so fucking fast, I mean, Jesus Christ, at that point, you're
Yeah,
looking at like why bother? Just
just
put that shit out all at
just
once.
just if you need the time to put it together, just release it a week or two later or whatever. But just release it in one piece.
That
Doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that would make sense, but
Yeah, no wonder why Telltale didn't do it.
that would make an unreasonable amount of
Mm,
sense, City. And as you know on this show,
mhm.
if it makes sense, it's very unlikely it was actually done.
Yeah.
Very, very, very unlikely it was ever actually followed through with. So maybe don't get your hopes up for
Mhm.
that because it's probably not going to happen. Just gonna. Honestly, I was just surprised to see fucking Telltale on my radar again. I felt
Mhm.
like I had went long enough in my life to just say they're dead. I never have to see them again, or at least until the
Mhm.
game comes out, and then maybe I might be willing to talk about them. But no, they're still shambling on like a fucking undead.
And they ain't even releasing any zombie games anymore, so
Yeah.
they have to take up the part of the zombie, I guess.
I mean, yeah, someone's got to. It's got to.
Mm.
If they're not gonna,
It's not
that's
the
the
games, it has to be them themselves.
yeah. The crazy thing about their whole situation was that don't you think after The Walking Dead, you put out
Mhm.
another licensed game and the sales on that are like a real fart, like a real wet fart in
Mhm.
church. Like, wouldn't you maybe go, hmm? But okay. So maybe the first time you release a licensed game that's kind of a wet fart in church, you might go, okay, maybe it's just the IP people aren't interested in. We'll try another one. But like, bro, how many IPs do you have to go through where nobody buys, where barely anyone buys it before you're like, uh,
Yeah, they
maybe
went
it's
through
us.
quite a few of those.
Yeah, maybe it's just us. Which
Mhm.
I mean, internal reflection is never easy for the best of us, let
Mhm.
alone for them. So, you know,
And
sometimes
hopefully
you.
there are a lot of those. Although they even did them before the first Walking Dead game came out.
Yeah, they did Back to the Future, which was
Mhm.
like Back to the Future was such a niche property to like. It's a classic, but it's still like a niche property that like only like 80s kids are gonna know about. So like, I enjoyed it because
Mhm.
it's a sequel to the movies, and I'm gonna give them all the credit in the world. they
Mm-hmm.
actually answer questions that you have about it. So like one of the questions I had going when I started playing it was like, wait a minute, the time machine was destroyed at the end of Back to the Future 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, so how does
Yeah.
this even work? But then you realize it's
Mm-hmm.
taking place not very long after Marty gets back at the end of Back to the Future 3, because he's going to clean out
Mm-hmm.
Doc Brown's house. They're doing an estate sale on his house. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's where things kind of kick off. And I'm like, oh. But then you meet Doc Brown, and it's not the Doc Brown you saw at the end of Back to the Future 3. It's it's a different point in the timeline, Doc Brown. And the thing is, I
Mm-hmm.
love it because they're so self aware. Because even Marty asks him, he's like, all right, Doc, where are you in your
Mm-hmm.
timeline? Because I am very confused. What's the last thing we
Mm-hmm.
did together? Right? Because if you're a time
Yeah.
traveler and you run into like
You never know
past,
where you are, essentially. Yeah.
if you're a time traveler, you run into like a past version of someone you know. The
Mm-hmm.
only way you can suss out where when they are is be like, all right, what's the last
Yeah.
thing me and you did together? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. I know exactly where I am now. Fantastic.
Or if you don't know what that refers to, then you know, okay, that's still to come.
We haven't. Oh, we haven't gotten there. Okay, okay. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
gotten there yet, or you haven't. One of us hasn't gotten there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. I dig it because they answer those kind of questions, and
Yeah.
each chapter of the game ends in a way where you think you fixed the time problem. So like the thing that's fucking with the timeline, you think you fixed it, but then you realize that the part of
Mm-hmm.
the thing that you fixed actually fucked everything else up in a completely different way.
Yeah,
Because
time travel is fucking complicated.
yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's very complicated. There's multiple elements. Chrono Trigger made this
Mm-hmm.
shit seem so easy. Chrono Trigger made
Mm-hmm.
this shit seem insanely easy to fix the timeline. To
Yeah,
the
but then just think if Chrono Trigger would have sequels and sequels and sequels. What would
Oh
happen then? Oh boy.
no. Yeah, probably for the no, don't do that. Don't don't do that, please. I
Mm-hmm.
don't the only gripe I've ever had with Chrono Trigger is I, it's how little you actually know about Lavos. I guess that's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
point. I feel like that was probably the point. I
Yeah.
I I was
I mean,
expecting to
I'd say you know enough.
yeah. I don't know why I thought I would have learned more about this being that, came
Mm-hmm.
from the fucking heavens of space, crashed into Earth, burrowed underground, and sat there for like five,
Mm-hmm.
6, 700 years before popping out
Yeah.
and basically nuking everything. I don't know why I thought he would have a complex backstory. He doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was silly of me to make such an assumption. Uh,
Sometimes the enemy is just a force of nature, so to speak.
and Lavos is absolutely a force of nature. I don't know why. I finished Chrono Trigger and I'm like, oh, that's how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I know some people were like, I'm surprised you didn't like show off all the other endings. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not.
Nope.
I'm like,
Nope.
I put in way more work into this playthrough for an SNES game than I was actually planning on. Mostly because some of those side quests are fucking hard. Or not even hard. You just have to do things in a very particular kind of order.
Time consuming.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're just time consuming. And by the time I finished them all, I just wanted the game fucking over. Because the last dungeon you have to go through is, and I hate to say this about Chrono Trigger, a
Mm-hmm.
fucking slog.
Mm-hmm.
it is a fucking slog of a dungeon. It is just, oh, it's a miserable. Like, I didn't even have trouble with it, which I think minimizes it a lot because I was
Mm-hmm.
overpowered like I usually am. But that says something when you're overpowered and the dungeon is still a slog.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, when the encounters aren't even hard, but you're just like, okay, come on. Can we wrap this up? I want to like to fucking go. Thanks. But yeah, that's cool. That's fantastic. As always, everybody, you can find our podcast on a variety of podcasting platforms such as Apple, Google, and Spotify. And like I mentioned at the start of the show and not the end of the show, like a reasonable person recording a podcast, we're trying out a different format for the show on our YouTube channel, Turn-Based Cynics. And we'll see how that goes. I'll see how that does. I'll see if that's a better or a worse idea. And you'll probably hear about it next week about how I feel about it, and then I'll just go from there. So if I come back to the show next week and I am a ball of mild discontent, then you can probably assume I'm not continuing that format. So just be ready for that. So the show will not be up on the audio format of the show will be up tonight. That will be up. I will have that up tonight, Sunday. That will be up. The video format, I'm gonna push a little bit to Mondays, and I'll have that uploaded throughout the week, mostly because I'm not trying to grind this shit out all at once. Fuck that noise. I have other things I'd like to do today.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to continue playing some Disgaea 7 and maybe try out Star Ocean 2, second story, among other things. So that's my plan. That's how I'm going to get down. I hope you've all enjoyed the show. The show should be back. Okay. So, full disclosure, we have one more show, and then I will not be here again because I'm actually taking an actual trip. So we will have a show on the 15th. That will happen. And then the 22nd, there will not be a show. But everything after that, I should be fine unless something stupid happens to me. So, unless something bad happens or I fucking eat shit in the bathroom again and fucking fall, I should be fine. Don't plan on it, but I should be fine. But other than that, show should be on track for the most part. Not sorry for missing one of those weeks, though. Sorry. I'm not apologizing for one of them. One of those is, I'm taking that one. That's me. I really shouldn't even apologize for seeing for going to the music concert. I really shouldn't even apologize for that. I don't really feel, part of me wants to, but the other part of me is like, nah, you deserve that one. Take what you can get. It was a fantastic concert. If you ever have an opportunity to go to one of those concerts, that's done by Square for their music. It was a fantastic show. It was a blast. Also, it's kind of just fun to sit there and listen to the music they pick and go, I wonder if they're gonna do any tracks. Cause me and my friend I went with, she was like, they got to do Aerith's theme. Like there were a few tracks she really wanted. She wanted Xanarkin from Final Fantasy X, which they did, but we weren't expecting Xanarkin because they did Besaid theme first, and we were like, and she was like, oh, did not expect that one. Then they did Xanarkin, and she was super happy. But we were both like, there's no way they're not gonna do like Aerith's theme from Final Fantasy VII, right? Like that's topical right now. They didn't. They didn't. That did not happen. So yeah, don't go in. Don't look at set lists because none of those set lists are gonna be correct. You're gonna be led astray.
There's just too much to pick from.
There's way too. Fuck, dude. We're at 16 fucking games now. Surprisingly, they had like 2 or 3 songs from Final Fantasy 15. I didn't expect.
Neat.
I didn't expect 15 to get that much play. I was surprised. They started out with the Final Fantasy 15 track. When I first heard it, I had to think about where it came from, because they didn't tell. They started with it, but then they told us after what it was. So I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I feel like I've heard this. Where have I fucking heard this before? Fuck, I know I've heard this. Where? And then he's like, Final Fantasy 15. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. Anyways, everybody, I hope you all have a fantastic week. There are plenty of games to play. God knows I have too many to play. Never going to get through them all. It's never going to happen. And I have now, CD, I have an abundance of spare time. So you would think I would have time to actually get through these games. But do I? Do I have that kind of spare time?
Apparently not.
You would think. You would think I would have that time. So, expect little things to be changing and a few things not to be changing. Until then, everyone, stay tuned. We are signing out this week.
See ya.